Started. So welcome to our webinar titled Free and Low-Cost Solutions for Small Business Owners. And before we dig into our presentation, we want to briefly highlight the Innovation Quarters in the Regional Business Centre. So at the Innovation Quarters, we offer a 6-month-long incubator program that helps new startups succeed with one-on-one mentoring, programming and training, and networking and events. And we also have access to a beautiful collaborative workspace. So you can come visit us. We're at 43 Elm Street in Sudbury. Our quarters are open to the public as well, which will give you and your team access to desk space, meeting rooms, and more. You can both apply for our incubator program or we have applications open until April 5th for our next cohort, or inquire about our co-working packages at innovationquarters.ca. And the co-hosts of the event are the Regional Business Centre. They're a one-stop shop for information and guidance on starting, expanding, and operating a business. They're proud to serve Greater Sudbury, Espanola, Manitoulin Island, and the surrounding areas with services including confidential one-on-one consultations, business plan support, market research, business registration, and more. I really encourage you to check out their website and to connect with them with a one-on-one meeting if you have any questions about your business, or really they can help support you or at least guide you in the right direction if you need any kind of support. And it's free. Also, we have some upcoming webinars. So the Regional Business Centre on the 14th on good old Valentine's Day is going to be hosting a webinar titled Mastering Market Research. We have guest speakers from the CRA that are going to be doing an extensive seminar the day right after on February 15th. Titled Free Tax Help for Small Businesses. That's going to be a 2-hour session. They're going to do a deep dive on taxes for small businesses. So that's going to be really great for all of you that have a lot of questions about taxes and tax season that's coming up. And then finally, the following week on February 22nd, we have 2 lawyers from the Marikinen coming, and they're going to do a 1-hour presentation on small business law. They're going to cover the pros and cons of incorporation versus sole proprietorship and a few other really interesting topics. Great. So feel free to type your questions in the chat. We're going to be reviewing those at the end. Looking forward to seeing some really great questions come in. And I'd like to introduce today's speaker, Jeff Coull, who is the Executive Director at the Northwestern Ontario Innovation Centre in Thunder Bay. Jeff has many years of experience in supporting entrepreneurs and leading tech programming and broadband infrastructure projects and accelerating organizations. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I still sound good?
You sound great.
That's awesome. I saw Greg did ask a quick question about if we wanted to be recording this. I don't know if that's something folks normally do or not. I just want to check question and get missed before we're too far in.
Yeah, so we do record our sessions, and then we're going to be uploading them in our resource data bank for the people that are in our incubator program. So I mean, if you don't want to have your camera on, that's totally fine. Just don't turn on your camera.
Okay, and I just started sharing my screen. Can you see that? All right.
That's good.
We'll jump into this shortly. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak as well. This is my 3rd time delivering a similar session. Unfortunately, this time I've been battling a cough for the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks now. It doesn't seem to go away. So I've got a cough candy in my mouth. I may talk with a little bit less enthusiasm. Please don't hold that against me. I love talking tech. Hopefully that comes across as well. And I love talking about small business tech and accessible tech and low cost tech, and all those things that are really necessary so that we can, embrace that concept of a lean startup and decrease our costs for as long as possible. And it's amazing how long you can run your business on some of these low cost solutions, and how, you'd be surprised how many world-class organizations still use just a regular spreadsheet to manage a critical part of their business, not an elaborate high-cost solution and stuff like that. So these solutions are great for today, and they actually do go quite a long way. I've got the chat open. So if there is a question, we will certainly have time at the end I don't mind it if somebody raises their hand or something like that. I might miss it. Hopefully I catch it though, and we can answer your questions in the moment rather than me just lecturing straight through this whole thing. So feel free to hold them to the end. Feel free to interject if you want as well by raising your hands or typing in the chat, and I will try my best to address it. So a little bit about me. As Melissa mentioned, I'm the Executive Director at the Northwestern Ontario Innovation Centre. Our head office is in Thunder Bay, and we have a satellite office in Kenora, Ontario as well. Prior to being the ED, though, I was the Director of Information and Communication Tech, which is just a long way of saying that I was the subject matter expert for small business tech, hence why I delivered this talk today. And then I also looked after our broadband infrastructure projects, which are pretty large and sort of rolling out fiber to different communities. And I looked after our tech grant programs, which is something we'll touch on a bit later. I definitely want to talk about specific solutions, but not only that, how are you going to get money to buy those solutions, and give you some direction there as well. Prior to the Innovation Centre, I was the Director of Professional Services at Retalon. That's a company out of Toronto when I used to live down there, retail AI company. So I worked in sales, development, implementation, and account management. A lot of my tech background and just learning about infrastructure and integrating various technologies and working with different businesses came from that. I also started a solar business here that I just sold at the end of last year, which is great timing actually for a number of reasons. But a lot of the solutions that I'm going to talk to you today are from the perspective of me actually using them there. And what did we do? Especially when I look at Google Ads and Google Analytics for you and kind of talk about the ROE and how it's so valuable. All the screenshots are from right when I started the business. Like the first week we started the business, I pulled a bunch of this data and screenshots and things so you could take a look at it. There's a couple screenshots showing a little bit of a change in growth in terms of how some of the strategies and things I talk about work, just to kind of validate that a little bit. But I want you to know that this is all coming from me starting my own business, and the things that worked and the things that didn't work. And then I added in here, we're going to touch on this a little bit. There's something called low code, no code, which I use here at the Innovation Centre. I used it in my own business. It's an amazing way to save you money, to improve your business processes. And I just want to highlight some of those solutions at the end as well, because a lot of our clients at the Innovation Centre, when they say, you know, my accounting solution doesn't speak to my invoicing solution, or doesn't speak to my inventory solution, or my CRM or something like that, and I want to go buy a whole new one, or I want to pay a developer to integrate the two. That's not necessary anymore. Most of the solutions you can integrate on your own with no coding experience, no development experience, and it's all done through those low code, no code platforms. So we'll talk about that as well. So agenda for today. I want to just very briefly, this is something we did in the first and two presentations, and I didn't want to get away from it just yet. I just want to reframe the word innovation. I work at the Northwestern Ontario Innovation Centre, and a lot of the things we're talking about make you innovative. And I want you to embrace that. Being innovative means, you know, taking a chance, taking a risk, doing something differently for your business. And I just want to talk about what that means for small business owners. We're going to talk about basic software for startups. Obviously, this is where we're going to spend most of our time. I want to highlight the value of having a tech roadmap and what that means, just having a plan in terms of how and when we should be adopting new technology, and give you a little framework for when to invest certain dollars where. We're going to talk about how we fund our tech adoption journey. And then a little bit on low code, no code right at the end, if there's time. So questions throughout, if that works, but by all means, feel free to hold them too. So reframing the word innovation. As a small business owner, you're going to be innovating all the time, but you may not think of it that way. So innovation doesn't mean a complete paradigm shift. Innovation can be small. Innovation can be incremental. It can be just tweaking a business process that saves you 20 minutes a day or something like that. Innovation doesn't have to be something that the external world sees. That example of tweaking a business process is just an example of innovation being internal facing. So I want you to think of those things that you're doing as innovative and how you can be an innovator. And like I mentioned before, a lot of the things that we're going to talk about with the solution supporting you as you do innovative things in your business, it's more about a change in process. It's not about bringing something that to market that you might be able to sell, like a new product or a new service offering. So when it comes to adopting new technologies and trying them out in different ways and trying it one way and then it might not work and then tweaking it and trying it another way, that is you being innovative. That is you trying new things. And I work at the Northwestern Ontario Innovation Centre, so I really like to emphasize that to all of my clients, is just to have that mindset when they're embracing new technology and trying to implement new technology at their organization. So jumping into it, basic software for startups. I have the word bootstrapping in here. It really, all that means is I'm talking about businesses that are really trying to start lean, that don't have, additional investment supporting their growth at this time, right? If you have, some FedNor funding, some NOICs funding, VC or private equity, this isn't applicable to those types of businesses, right? Because they have a lot of money. They don't have to worry about saving money on software every now and then. They can just go out and buy best of breed and hire the right people to implement them, and the right people to maintain them, and all that good stuff. So first off, just kind of at a high level, a couple of things to note. Always stick with cloud-based SaaS products. So SaaS is software as a service. And what all that really means is that you're typically accessing the solution through your web browser. And by doing that, that typically means that you always have the most up-to-date version. That security, all that onus for security is on the vendor. It's not on you. If you were hosting it, it's called on-prem, meaning on your own server or on your laptop, something like that. That means security is on you, and you're the one protecting the data and you're the one liable. Versus if you're using a SaaS product, typically that liability lies with the SaaS provider. As I mentioned before, it means you pretty much always have the most up-to-date product. Yes, there's different types of releases and things like that, but most of the time you always have the most up-to-date product, and you can access it from anywhere, which is kind of great if you're working hybrid, or maybe you want to access it from a different device, or you're using your phone or something like that. Helps a lot. So as you're getting started, never pay for the annual subscription right away. I would try your best, if it's an option, make that a hard and fast rule. I know it seems really inviting if you figure out how much it's going to cost you per month by buying the annual subscription, maybe it's half as much as what it costs you to pay 1 month at a time and to go through the monthly piece. Still don't do it. Just try it for a month, okay? Because whatever you're getting sold on their website, I'm not saying people are lying or anything like that, but they're selling you their product and functionality as it would work in the absolute perfect ideal circumstances. In the real world, it doesn't exist. So the software might not work the exact way you thought, or it might not integrate the way you thought. And if you paid for the annual one up front, they make it really difficult for you to get a refund on that. So just to be safe, I say always definitely start with a trial, definitely start with the month, paying 1 month at a time. And then if you can, when you're ready to go, jump into the annual one. So looking at specific types of solutions, and I say this in no particular order, so I'm not emphasizing anything over the other because each organization sort of has different requirements, but we're first going to start with using Google Workspace and getting your domain from them as well. You can buy domains from anywhere. I just recommend that if you're going to use Google Workspace, go through them as well, because it's just easy to buy, easy to manage it and stuff like that, all in one dashboard. I also tell all of our clients here, don't use a Gmail address, just pay for the domain. So that way your address is at, mine would have been at superiorgreenenergy.com for the solar business. And so definitely do that. There's a sense of authority, professionalism that comes along with that. Now, the reason I suggest going with Google Workspace first is just because it includes all of these different elements, which are really great for a small business. And at the end of the day, the real competitor for that is going to be Microsoft. And so, yeah, now I love Microsoft as well. I use Microsoft here at the Innovation Center for everything. And at SGE, I used Google Workspace. So I'm pretty familiar with them both. My personal preference is for the Microsoft product, but as a startup, my preference is for Google Workspace. And so with Google Workspace, you're getting all the basics that you would with Microsoft. We've got our email, we can meet, we can chat, calendar. Google Drive is just your shared drive for saving files. You've got your Word docs, your Excel sheets, you've got PowerPoint in slides. You've got a relatively unique product offering in Google Forms, which is really great for collecting information from clients. We use it here. I use it at SGE as well for, intake forms, inbound information, follow-up surveys, whatever it might be. And as you get more familiar with using Google, depending on, your technical proficiency, they have Google Apps Script, which allows you to integrate these different products on your own in a low code, no code type of way. So we're not going to dig into that too much today, but sort of if you're familiar with it, you'll know what I mean, and you can expand and look into that. Google Workspace Basics right now is about $6 a month per user, versus Microsoft Basics right now, which is about $8.10 per month per user. So they're fairly comparable. I don't think $2 is a make or break you. $2 per month isn't a make or break you type of thing. So if you're coming from an organization, maybe you were working for another company before you started your own company, and you got really good at using the Microsoft product, then I would always recommend just stick with it. And trying to get up and running on the Google product is probably, that effort to relearn those things is probably not worth it for you. But anyways, very, very similar product offerings. Microsoft is a little bit more expensive. And I always suggest going with Google Workspace anyways, because you have that. You can register your domain with them as well, which is pretty important. So after that, we come to a tool which is called a CRM, which is a customer relationship management tool. And all this is, for those that are unfamiliar with the term, it's just a database of your customers and their information. Right? That's the absolute basics of it. Here's my customer, here's their contact information. But then there's a lot more beyond the basics that you typically attach to it, which is what makes it valuable. So you might have a status for that customer. Are they active? Are they lapsed? Meaning I haven't heard from them in 6 months and I need to reach out to them again. Are they completely inactive? Is it a closed account? You usually also keep information here about your outreach to them. So, what's their do they receive my newsletter? Have I sent them our recent marketing campaign or specific marketing outreach? It would collect information like, did they click on the email? Did they open it? Like, what was the status of it? Helps you manage those campaigns and things like that. You would also have their orders attached to it. How much did they buy? How do I access those orders? What's the status of those orders? Things like that. Anything relating to your customers is located in your CRM. It is implemented too late. This in accounting, which I'm going to talk about kind of at the bottom of this list, CRMs and accounting are implemented too late in most of the startups that we work with here. They just think, I don't need that. It's not applicable. And then over time, it's just a snowball where all that customer data starts getting missed and you can't manage your outreach and you don't know who you contacted and when, what's the status of their order, all this other stuff. Same thing with accounting. We don't have the transactions in here. I forgot to send this invoice. Oh, this person didn't pay. My accounts receivable is becoming really, really old and I've got people who haven't paid in 3 months, but I've got no visibility to that. Like all of these things you want to implement before you need them, because when you need them, that snowball is already so big and it is so challenging to implement them. So a CRM is one of them that I think gets overlooked. There are thousands of CRM solutions. And if I could give you a recommendation, I would say consider 2 as your starting point. So first, I would say take a look at HubSpot. They have a free product offering. It's relatively easy to get up and running. HubSpot integrates with your web page fairly easily. I'm not suggesting you do that integration, but if somebody's building your web page for you, they can do that for you. And so if you have a contact form on your website, if somebody fills that out, you want that information in your CRM. So that way, maybe you have a new customer status or an uncontacted customer status along with the date. Maybe you want to automate an email to them out of your CRM, right? So you can sort of see how that client acquisition process can be used straight from your website into your CRM with some email follow-up and things like that. So check out HubSpot for sure. And then I would say for your second one, I would try to look at industry-specific CRMs. So if you're in construction, literally just Google construction CRMs, and you'll see a bunch of them pop up. Builder Trend and the other ones are escaping me right now, but a lot of really great ones in construction specifically. If you're a retailer, if you have a restaurant, if whatever industry you are in, just Google industry plus CRM, and I guarantee you someone has already created a CRM very tailored to your industry. If you go that route, I would just be cautious with, how mature is this company? How long have they been doing it for? If it's brand new, it means there's probably lots of bugs and kinks still to work out and stuff like that. But definitely check that out. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but obviously you need to get a website and you need to integrate e-commerce. If e-com is one of the channels you sell through, that is. For this thing, all I would say is it's important to think up front about what you need your website to do to decide who you should go with and what solution you should build your website on. So if we're thinking about someone like Shopify, Shopify is great for new businesses. And then they do have pretty good solutions for enterprise solutions as well. But the reason I say it's great is not on the website side, even though the website's fine, but there are better solutions. What's great about Shopify is they have a whole app store that you can access and you can use in your solution. And they also have point of sale hardware, and that point of sale hardware automatically integrates your physical inventory if you have physical inventory. If you have a brick and mortar location that needs physical point of sale on site, all of that is integrated really, really well into a single solution. So I really want to kind of just recommend that as, if we run brick and mortar with physical inventory, maybe we take a look at Shopify as a potential solution, because we've had so many clients come in and they just say, listen, our online inventory doesn't match what we physically have in stores. What do we need to do? And there's no easy solution for that. It's usually an expensive solution. But if you're using an integrated solution that offers both, and there are others besides Shopify, I'm just throwing it out because they're Canadian. Lightspeed's Canadian too. You could definitely take a look at that. But you do have more options out there, right? You got Lightspeed. If you're built on WordPress, you can use plugins. Wix has different things. There's lots of different solutions out there. I'm just throwing that out there as sort of one to consider. And then point of sale software, hardware, and any payment processing if you need to process online payments. So if you've got brick and mortar, you're probably selling things out of there unless you're professional services. Maybe you can just accept online payments. So looking at could be a Shopify, looking at a Stripe, looking at Square for maybe really simple mobile payments. Understanding though that maybe if you run with a Stripe or a Square, you may need to put in some additional effort to integrate your inventory with other solutions and making sure that Square or Stripe is speaking to your inventory solution. Maybe you're using your accounting to track your inventory, right? Like QuickBooks and Sage all have that as well. So just, before you make that decision, you want to try your best to understand, okay, what am I not getting? And so when you don't go with an integrated solution, you're going to want to save yourself a lot of pain and a lot of mundane admin. You're going to want to try to take a look and figure out, what are the things that I'm not getting here. And then the second of two that is overlooked the most is your accounting solution. Too many clients that we have at the Innovation Centre simply run their business without an accounting solution for way too long. So I would say everyone, when you are right at the early stages of starting your business, bump up accounting much higher than you think it should be. There are very inexpensive solutions available. There's SaaS-based solutions. So at work here at the Innovation Centre, we used to use Sage 50, which was an on-prem solution. It was fine. It was archaic, but it was fine. And then we just migrated to QuickBooks Online, which is far, far better. QuickBooks Online is what we used at SGE as well. That's certainly my personal recommendation, but it's more expensive than things like Xero and Simply Accounting and stuff like that. So you may want to look at one of those solutions first and potentially migrate to a more robust solution. I can tell you that our accounting migration was painful. So I wish I had just started with QuickBooks Online and paid a little bit extra at the beginning. But all of your invoicing is in there. Integration with your CRM to help track the status of those invoices is all available to you there. There's preset reporting, so you don't have to worry about too much. And if you use a bookkeeper, your bookkeeper knows how to use QuickBooks. So that helps a lot as well. And then kind of the solution we're going to take a deeper dive into, because I think it's really overlooked and it's surprisingly complicated, but relatively inexpensive, is Google Ads and analytics. So when you're a new business and you just launched your website, one of the things that you can do people like to use the term SEO, but SEO is, it's a lot of different things. Ultimately, it's, just trying to get higher up that Google page. It doesn't happen overnight. And one of the important things to drive your page ranking is the visitors to your website. But how do you get visitors to your website if they can't find you? If you're not ranked on the first page or you're ranked low down the first page, well, it's Google Ads, right? So we're going to talk about that as we run through this with Google. And Google Analytics is how you evaluate your Google Ads, just so you know. That's how those two go together and how you set them up. So let's talk about Google Analytics first. Obviously, it's great to have a website, but how do you know what's working and what is not working on your website? How do you know what is contributing to SEO and things like that? Because like I mentioned, SEO results don't happen overnight. Well, one way you can do it is just get an ad. So there's something called Google Trends, which you can just check out on your own. And that will tell you, and you're going to type in keywords, and it's going to tell you what words people are searching for. and similar words that they might be using. And you want to frame whatever the most popular words are. Those are what are called your keywords. And so you'll build your Google ads probably around those keywords, depending on how many competitors you have, because remember, they're doing the same thing, right? So depending on how many competitors you have, maybe you want to differentiate a little bit, but at the end of the day, you want to understand the way your customers are searching for your product or for your service, and make sure that your analytics, your SEO, your Google ads are all focused on that, the way that your customer is searching. And the way we make sure we do that is through Google Analytics. So these are some screenshots from when I first started SGE from back in the day. So what I can see on this screen, these are very low numbers from when we first started, is I was just tracking, okay, we got 104 users. This is all within about a month when we launched the business. We got 101 of them were new. They were on my website for 1:47, which is actually not terrible. I know it sounds low, but people browse really, really fast nowadays. And I can see this spike right here is when I launched one of my new ad campaigns to drive traffic to the website. And then when I look into those numbers, I see that how they found me was mostly through paid search. And that makes sense because I just launched the website. Google hadn't indexed us yet. And so they weren't even really reporting on us. And other websites had higher page ranks because they had existed longer. And so I knew if I wanted to move up the page rank, I just had to go ahead and pay for those people to find my website. Totally fine to do, relatively inexpensive to do. And when I say pay for them to find my website, SGE was a solar panel installation company. So if somebody put solar panels Thunder Bay, we were the top paid result. That is a really, really targeted response, right? I'm that exact person is looking for me. I know it. So I will pay to make sure that they see my ad first. And then we had a little bit of organic search, and then direct is just basically people typing in your website address and stuff like that. And I'll show you how this changed over time in just a second. You can dig further into your analytics to figure out what cities they're visiting you from. This was important for me as my service was only offered regionally, right? So I didn't want, there's no value in me having someone click on my Google ad from Toronto. So I actually had my Google ad configured incorrectly the first time. And this is how I caught it, is by actually going through Google Analytics and understanding my numbers. And then you can take it further and see, okay, what web pages are they visiting on my website, which seems to be the most popular. And most of them for us, it's through our blog, which I'll talk about in a second, and how important a blog is. It was our blog that attracts the most people to our website. And the reason for that is because of the SEO strategy we had with those blogs. So one thing I want to emphasize here is that SEO does not happen overnight. Just because you worked with an SEO specialist or you did something, it takes a long time for you to build up that momentum and start seeing the fruits of your labor. It is not like flipping a light switch. So when we take a look at what we did with Google Analytics here, we were at paid search was our number one, more than double organic search. And then just a short while later, about 6 months, my organic search was way harder. My direct was much better. People had just saved our website and were going into directly. And now paid search was much lower. So when I started my business, my strategy was, okay, I'm going to pay for Google Ads to get traffic. And then once I get, that's going to drive my page rank up, along with my blog SEO strategy. That's going to drive my page rank way, way up. And hopefully I should see results like this, where now people are finding me through organic search, meaning it's free, or direct, meaning it's free. There's a cost to everything, but it's relatively free. versus my paid ads, which went down significantly. So there's a lot of ROI, not just on, like when you pay for your Google ads, there's a lot of ROI, not just in the ad and being at the top of the list, but also what it does, that traffic does for you down the road in driving your page rank. So one other thing that you can do related to this is if you don't have a blog, you should have one. You should be updating it at least once a month, and you should be updating it using words that are directly related to your Google Ads keyword search. Okay, so for me, it was Thunder Bay, solar, and installer. And every single one of my blog posts included those in the header and in the body of the blog post. And all of this is relatively, it's your time, but it's free to do. And you can use some tools like ChatGPT to make that a lot faster for you. And I touch on ChatGPT after this in terms of how we see some of our clients using it and how you can better use it as well to save you a ton of time. So I'll dig into that a little bit more after, but just to recap before I move on from this on that SEO piece, you're going to want to set up your Google. First, you do Google Trends to figure out your keywords. Then you set up Google Ads around that. And then you set up your blog post to incorporate those keywords. And if you just do those things, just that's it, sort of 80-20 rule, you get 80% of the return for 20% of the effort just by doing that. There's other things that go into SEO and your page ranking, which we're not going to dig into today because that's a different conversation for sure. But in terms of content and things like that, that's really, really great. And then the last thing you can do, which I tracked a lot of, was in my blog posts, which ones are actually working? Which ones are driving people to my website? And how do I start duplicating that content? Not an exact clone or an exact copy, but how do I just tweak it a little bit? For anyone who spends time on TikTok or Instagram, you'll notice that content creators are great at this, especially someone that does cooking or recipes. Whatever one went viral for them, you'll see them redo that same one 2 or 3 times a year with just a little twist, because they know the algorithm and loves it. And they know that they can pick up traction. Blog posts are the exact same way. So I could see that these 2 blog posts got the most views. So I started redoing more of this. Obviously, solar incentive programs make sense that everybody wants to save money, and how do we do that? So I started doing more blog posts about a specific program or an update to a program or whatever it might be. The last thing before we get off of analytics here is setting up Google Ads and analytics is actually pretty complicated. So I don't want you to think it's super easy or something like that. It's something that takes a little bit of time to do. There is a program called Digital Main Street's Virtual Squad. It's offered throughout the province. It's wrapping up soon. So if you haven't done this yet, or if you configured it on your own and you think maybe there were some mistakes, I suggest you check out that program and see if you can't get some time with whoever their ad and analytics expert is. That's what we use at the Innovation Centre. It's what we use at SGE. That resource is free to you. It's paid for by the province. They are an expert, and they're not just going to tell you what to do. They'll actually do it for you, and you'll know that you're getting things set up correctly. So definitely check out that DMS Virtual Squad. See if there's a resource available to you in the area. Even if you think everything's running smoothly, just book a 1-hour session and have them check it out for you. Okay, that's not going to be around forever. It's an amazing, amazing program. I'm going to skip through this screen here. So then, ChatGPT, the new sexy kid on the block. I started talking about this during the last time I gave this presentation, and things have not slowed down. It's just exponential growth in terms of the way people are figuring out how to use this tool. And you should absolutely incorporate it into your business you should responsibly incorporate it into your business is the word that I want to say, because there are, depending on what you're doing, there's privacy concerns depending on what industry you're in. And you don't want to make yourself sound like a robot and be really, really boring. I equate ChatGPT to right now being like a Roman orator back in the day, where it uses the most flowery, most flamboyant language you can imagine by default. And it sounds like no one would actually talk that way unless you're on the floor of the Roman Senate or something like that. But there are ways to make it talk like you and to have those results be a lot more meaningful versus just spitting out some nonsense that you would never actually say. So I'm going to give you some advice on that in just a sec. If you haven't started using it, just start, just go type in anything. Say, give me the top 10 points or the top 10 problems with my industry, or the top 10 concerns in my industry, or something like that. Or say, I want to write a blog post about the top 10 concerns in my industry, or something. I used this with my wife the other day. My wife works in a hospital. She doesn't use tech at all. And when she finally hit enter on her prompt to get her results, she literally went, as the results spun up in front of her, she couldn't believe how powerful it was and how it was giving her a strong starting point for a presentation. And then you have to start refining the prompts. So just like using Excel or coding, you can copy and paste those prompts from the web. So if you need to do something in ChatGPT, somebody else has already figured out the way to create a good prompt to get you those results. So you go to the web, say, I want to use ChatGPT to do X, and somebody else will give you those prompts. And most importantly, I'm going to put a link in the chat right now. Hopefully I can copy and paste from here. No, okay, give me a second. I'm going to grab it because I want to make sure I share this with you. Let's open up the chat here. Oh, I missed a question there. Well, I'll come back to it at the end. Sorry about that. I'm a little outside of it. So this is a link just to a Forbes article. Forbes writes a lot of stuff, like it's not anything too good, but this particular article gives you in about 5 steps ways for you to better train ChatGPT to sound like you. And the way it works is you take a little bit of your previous writings. Hopefully it's a blog post or an article or just the content from your website if you think it sounds like you, or it's the tone you want to use when communicating with people. Plug that into ChatGPT. You tell it to describe your writing style. So how does ChatGPT think you sound? And then when you write your blog post or additional content in the future, you include that as one of your prompts. So for me, I can't remember how exactly it described it. I have it to copy and paste on my desktop here, but my writing style and my tone, it was direct, professional, and concise, I think were the 3 words. So I write whenever I'm going to stick with blog posts, for example. I'll write, please write me a blog post on how the Ontario innovation ecosystem has matured over the last decade. Please write it in a style that is direct, professional, and concise. So without that other prompt, I'd end up with some writing that really doesn't sound like me, doesn't sound like anyone, sounds like it was written by a robot. But by including that one little bit at the end, I have something that I am a lot more happy with and requires a lot less work from me to resolve. or to clean up, I should say. A lot less effort for me to clean up. Now, you should clean up everything that comes out of ChatGPT. Do not ever use it directly out of there. You have to get some human eyeballs on that. Otherwise, you will run into problems. And then I'm going to stick with that blog post example. It's going to spit out a version 1, and it might still have some language you don't want. You can then say things like, please reduce the word count, please increase the word count. We were having an issue here where for some reason ChatGPT wanted to keep describing one of our events as jazzy and exciting. And we literally had to say, please do not use the words jazzy and exciting, right? So you can tell it all these things and you'll learn how to use it, how to create your prompts. And within a few iterations, you'll get down to you should end up at a pretty strong piece of content or prompt. We use it to describe our events give me a 2-sentence description you could have used it to describe this event and some of our marketing or something like that. I'll use it for our conference where I'll say, please give me a 4-sentence description for a panel discussion on digital transformation in mining and forestry. And it'll bang something out for me, and then I'll revise it to a way that I think is more appropriate and that I'm proud of, but it's a really great starting point. And that's what ChatGPT can get you. So we use it for blogs. We use it for optimizing our web content and SEO strategy. So incorporating those keywords into your blog. I know we got 10 left here, so we'll leave time to answer questions. Captions for social posts, marketing taglines and headers. And I am not ashamed to say I use it for bedtime stories for my kids, or you can use it for yourself. I don't pass any judgment there. But my son, sometimes he'll be like, I want to hear about a bear who's friends with a donkey and they live on a pirate ship and they only wear pink. Okay, give me a 10-minute bedtime story with those descriptions and it'll write a great one for me. So looking through tech roadmaps here, a tech roadmap is your adoption plan. I'm going to go through this relatively quickly, but you should just have an idea of when you want to adopt certain tech, right? So the things we've gone over here, most of them are at startup. And at about the 1 to 3 year mark, depending on how your organization is scaling, you certainly want to expand on your capabilities, upgrade to the next tier of your SaaS solutions, maybe invest in some social media solutions, low code, no code, and some industry specific things like maybe new CAD modules if you happen to be in that space. And in 3+ years is where you really start bringing in human resources. Maybe you move from Google into Microsoft, an enterprise resource planning solution, project management solution, stuff like that. And you make sure that you budget for all of these as well in your annual budgeting processes. In terms of funding, I just wanted to let you know there is lots of funding available. It just can be hard to find. So I'm going to put another link in the chat here. This is called the Business Benefits Finder. Everyone should go through and use this. Really simple to use. There's only 3 pages, about 10 prompts to help you nail down what funding may be available to you. One of them you'll see is called the Grow Your Business Online grant. It's $2,400. It's very easy to get. Everyone should go get it. Okay. Now, obviously, not every single organization is eligible for everything I'm talking about here, but that Business Benefits Finder will show you only those programs you are eligible for. So if you're a nonprofit or something like that, you have different eligibility. And then the last thing, I'm not going to spend a lot of time getting into it, but just so you're aware it exists. Low code, no code is a software development approach that requires no real coding skills. It's for non-technical people to make, basically for moving data from one product to another. So we use it a lot if I need to create a contract from data that is in my CRM, like customer name, customer address, customer pricing, all those other pieces, rather than me having to key them into a contract. I know that information already exists. So I use a low code, no code solution to move that data from my CRM into the contract. I'm not going to go through how it works, just for timing's sake. You are giving your data over there. You're putting it temporarily into a staging table. So you want to make sure, just like with ChatGPT, that you don't provide any data you shouldn't be. Okay. We're going to skip through because there could be app security issues. Obviously, working with mature products, you don't have that problem, but you might have an employee using it who moves data in and out of the organization, like a bad actor and stuff like that. But some of those solutions that I would suggest you use, my favorite is Zapier. So we move a lot of data from spreadsheets to Word, from spreadsheets to email, to a PDF for a signature, all without us paying for any additional integration requirements. And it really allows us to customize our solutions without actually paying a developer, and having no programming expertise myself allows me to do a lot of that. So Zapier is great for moving data. It's what I suggest all of our clients use. And we have quite a few clients that have invested a lot of effort into that in using, because it's great for them. For web app development, if you're in that space, you could look at Bubble. For AI and machine learning, there's one called AppSheet, and for mobile app, you can look at one called Glide. So I'm going to flip over to the chat now and take a look at some of those questions that I missed when they were coming through. We had one on about using keywords when you're naming your business. I would say you could consider it, but I definitely wouldn't use it as a deal breaker or decision maker. It's certainly helpful. I'm not going to say that, but the name of your business is so much more important than that. Because it's going to be your branding. It represents you. It does all of those things. Like if somebody's searching for, I need a new photocopier, the word Xerox doesn't mean anything. I mean, you could Xerox things, but even that is like the word Kleenex, it originated from that as well. But so I would say you could look at it, but definitely don't use that as, say, we have to have our keywords included in the name of our business. Not at all. A database we mentioned earlier, as to how privy to it to access require also the blog post stuff, and it's still available to go over. They seem really interesting. I sold SGE, so I will tell you right now, to Green Energy. Nope, they are no longer available. So there you go. So I don't know what they're doing, but the website's offline now, unfortunately. Yeah, but I love talking solar for sure. So, we can't hear you right now. You're on mute, Melissa.
I do this to myself all the time. So yes, we have a question about sharing the slide deck for today. Is that something that you could share with me, Jeff, that I could send to the participants?
Yeah, for sure. No problem at all.
Great. And do we have any more questions from everyone? Yeah, I can share it when it's ready as well, the recording. You've shared a lot of really incredible things today. And honestly, I didn't know that you were going to cover analytics as well, which is really great that you did get to cover that. So thank you so much for mentioning everything having to do with SaaS as well. I think that this was really informative for everybody on the call today.
Great. Well,
Okay,
I'm
perfect.
happy to hear that. Wish everyone the best on your tech journey. My email was in there. You can always shoot me a line if there's something I can give you some advice on. Happy to.
And I'll be sending as well a survey for everybody that did participate today, and I'll be attaching the slide deck to it as well. Okay. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your lunch.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.